Hey guys, this is Mike from JMG. Hey, we're going to be installing the Poison Spyder Rock Brawler II rear bumper and tire carrier. So we have all of our old stuff off, and I'm just going to show you guys the install. So let's flip this thing around and show you what comes in the contents, what comes in the box. So this is all the stuff that comes in those giant boxes for the rear bumper and tire carrier. Obviously you have the Rock Brawler II rear bumper with tabs and fog light holes and the massive spindle that the tire carrier goes on. All the assorted hardware. You have your spare tire mount bracket, your spare tire bolts, your license plate bracket, the brackets and the plate that asphyxiate the we're not going to strangle anybody. They fix the tire carrier to the tailgate anyway, and then the actual carrier itself. We got their optional fog lights with them. That's the first step we're going to do, is put those fog lights in and show you guys a trick to do that. And they have their super cool cap that goes on it, and they're even really nice enough to include a cut wrench for that cap. Makes it really nice to put on. So let me cut to those lights, show you how to put those in. Okay guys, so first these lights come in this rubber grommet, and even trying to get these out of the package, granted it's been cold out here in the shop, it's probably like 50 maybe if I'm lucky. These are actually kind of hard to get out. Once you pop those things out, these grommets are not very pliable, and getting them in these holes and actually fit it in there is almost impossible unless it's like a really nice hot day and these things are baking out in the sun. So we saw a video shared by Alex from Poison Spyder. He's great to deal with if you guys want to deal anything direct with them. Hit up Alex or Starley. They're fantastic. So we're going to take these and actually microwave them or almost boil some water and throw them in some really hot water, make them really pliable, and then hit these with a little bit of WD-40, then those should slide right in there no problem. Here's the secret. A bowl of really steaming hot water. So microwave some water for like 2.5–3 minutes in a bowl, and then drop these in here, and then by the time you get back out to the garage, these things should be nice and pliable. So we're going to take this rubber grommet and pop it into this hole. Like I said, once when those are cold, it's damn near impossible to do this. So when these are really hot, it makes it quite easy. There, and then you'll feel it and hear it pop in. So, and we sprayed a little bit of WD-40 into that groove. So now we will take the light, and I forget which way exactly these are supposed to go. Looking at this, I'd say that looks pretty good. So, either way, I'm not sure. I don't think these are directional any which way. So, with some WD-40 on this as well, we will go ahead and pop that in too. Okay, well, I'd like to say that that one was easy, but it really wasn't. So the hot water definitely makes it an easier job than trying to mess with it when it's hard. However, even with WD-40 and stuff, I still used a nice pair of vice grips, channel locks, what have you, to grab onto this thick piece of rubber on the outside, and with a lot of pulling on that and many sentence enhancers and several retries having to throw it back in the hot water, finally got it seated. So that's the back side. There's the front side, nice and I guess flush with a little bit of water and WD-40 still in there. But finally it's in. Now to do the next side. So I'm not going to show that one. I'm just going to skip towards after that when you start setting up the bumper. So with the Poison Spyder bumpers, you have your two factory bolt hole locations on each side. This would be the passenger side and then the driver's side. So what Poison Spyder does is they include these speed clips. They love these speed clips. So these speed clips are going to go into this frame hole and then bolt through here. So what we did, since I didn't have somebody to help me put the bumper on and I didn't want to screw it up by scratching it on the exhaust pipe and all that stuff, is I took a template of this space on the actual bumper. So took a template of the passenger side bracket, made the hole, drilled that hole out, and then made sure that it lined up with this, and then marked my hole here and drilled it there. So I'm going to throw these speed clips on and have Erica give me a hand setting this bumper on, making sure that my other holes are drilled properly, and go from there. So once we set the bumper on the frame, there's going to be a couple holes in the rear cross member that we're going to have to drill out from the bottom. Some of you may already have some of those holes there. Some of you may not because of the different model year changes. So I think we had at least 1 or 2 holes that matched up. Maybe not both. I'm not really sure. But I already drilled that stuff, so we're going to set the bumper on and go over that stuff. Erica helped me put the bumper on. My template idea did work for those side brackets. I'll show you a quick glimpse here. So there's obviously the big hole in the frame, and there's the little hole that we had to mark on each side. Those actually worked. Of course, they have you drill a little bit bigger of a hole than the speed clip, so the speed clip can be moved around a little bit. I had some problems back in the day with these 2 holes here when I took the bumpers, my old bumpers off to get recoated. So I ended up drilling and tapping these to be a larger bolt hole, and I screwed up the bolt that goes in the top one, or just the other bolt in general. So I do have to get one more bolt for that, but as you see, those match up. The speed clip nut matches up. I measured the holes on the bottom since I already had some drilled for my previous JCR bumper and carrier. So the holes that we need to use are the outside holes. So this one up here and this one over here. This one I had to drill out a little bit more because it was a little bit off, but now they both work. They match up top. You can see our Dynamax exhaust just barely clears that, but we have it pushed back as far as we can. So that may be a problem later on, but not right now. So these 2 outside holes, this one here and this one here, I'm gonna put those in right now. The other side looks pretty good. Of course, it's the one thing that you want to see, but none of us can record that, and I didn't want to set up the camera elsewhere. These 3 holes match up well as well. Speed clip came out good. These 2 match up perfectly. Everything threads in just fine. Gives us a really nice tight clearance along the body. So I'm gonna wrap up the bumper install. The lights are in too, but I'm gonna wire those last. I'm gonna finish up the bumper and then at least start setting up that carrier. So not knowing. I don't know if I'm gonna finish that tonight, but we'll see. So now we can finish doing the tire carrier install. I didn't want to pack these bearings and get grease all over my hands before I had to take a shower and go in if I had to. So what we're going to do is pack these bearings with grease. If you're like me, you don't have a bearing packer. Insert your innuendo joke there. But it's really easy to pack your own bearings. I'm going to literally set my phone right here and show you. You put a dab of grease or a big chunk of it in your palm, and then you literally just smash it in and rock it around until you have grease coming out of the top. So it is kind of a messy job, but it works just fine. The directions tell you to grab some gloves, and of course we've got gloves all over the friggin' house. I don't know why Erica's glove over here is so long. Don't know what she was doing at work, but probably something gross. My wife's a nurse too, so. And then once you keep packing, you'll see it start coming out of the top. So, and then once you get that all the way around, just make sure that it's fully packed. So, it's not too bad. So now that our bearings are packed, so we have the bottom bearing, top bearing, doesn't matter which one's which. The races are already pre-pressed into the actual tire carrier. So the order that this goes in is, when it's finished, you're gonna have the seal, the bottom bearing, the top bearing, the washer, and then the nut that holds all that stuff together. So what we're gonna do first is put the bottom bearing in, followed by the seal to hold that bottom bearing in place. Then we'll set the carrier on the bumper, drop in the top bearing with the washer and the nut, tighten that down so it's not gonna fall off, and then get these gloves off and tighten it down a little bit so that we can get the carrier starting to be, get the carrier set up. So I was gonna try and use my GoPro, but it froze, and it's still frozen, and I can't turn the damn thing off. So anyway, I think What the directions are telling me to do now is I had already asphyxiated. Why am I keep saying that? I already put the spacer on here. Ugh. That is the V-notch that helps guide the carrier into place with those 4 bolts. Seems unnecessary, but hey, it looks cool. So that piece is on. The next piece that goes on is the V-notch for the actual tire carrier that goes here. From the directions, it is difficult to see. These things have been copied probably a million times. That's just a lot of black followed by a black with a heim joint. I think it's supposed to go like this, judging by the directions. These are 9/16 if you're looking for a socket and all this stuff. So this piece is going to go here. We're going to loosely install that so that this can go into that V-notch. Then the heim joint is going to go there for the carrier, and then there on the other side. So I'm going to put that stuff on. These 2 longer bolts are going to be used for the heim joint, and then these 2, where are they? Oh, they're right here. These 2 are going to be used, obviously, for this V-notch. So let me put this in, and then we will start adjusting that heim joint to make sure this closes and opens with the tailgate and closes tightly. So we have the heim joint on now. That connects the tailgate to the tire carrier. This was kind of a pain. I had to open this up a little bit more because I think the powder coating is really, really thick. So once I open it up just a slight bit and touch it up, because I think I cracked the powder coating, that should be good. And then it's reverse threaded, so get both ends situated and then make it so that it just barely touches before closing. And then once everything latches, it makes a nice tight seal on that V-notch. Again, this should have been adjusted up or down by closing the gate and setting that. And now that the heim joint's set, whenever we open the gate, that swings the tire carrier with it until the gate itself stops. Then that limits the carrier. So we're good. Now that this piece is linked, I'm probably just going to throw my antenna back on this side, and then we'll start mounting the spare tire. Alrighty, so now that the tire carrier is linked to the tailgate, the next step is to put on the spare tire mounting bracket. What Poison Spyder tells you to do if you have not read the directions is measure your spare tire with no load on it. Don't use one of the ones that are, mounted to the Jeep and have the weight of the Jeep on it. So we have a 37 by 1250 Nitto trail grappler mounted to a 17-inch AE beadlock. This unloaded measures out to just over 36 inches, 36 and a half, somewhere around there. What they tell you to do is cut that in half and then add an inch. So it would be 18 and a quarter plus an inch, which would set us to those set of holes on this mounting bracket. And what they don't tell you is if that's where the top of this bracket is supposed to be, like on those holes, or if that's where the actual center of this bracket is supposed to go. So that I'm not too sure. I'm sure it'll fit in the bottom, but we're just going to go with that being the actual middle. So I'm going to mount it to those holes there. We'll bolt that up. Next up, with the other bracket, which is what the studs actually go through, is this. Now, according to the directions, they include actually a nice pattern that you can follow what bolt pattern you actually need to be. We are running the 5x5 factory JK bolt pattern, so we're going to use this hole, and this hole. So those are marked, and then this will slide over top of here with a little convincing due to the powder coat. A little bit of love, I'm sure we'll make that fit too. So next up, I'll be putting those studs in. So I had planned to put the center mark for where the spare is going to mount to where that hole that we had seen before. But of course, the way that I would like to do it, I can't do it. Because as you see, when this nut goes through, that's going to meet up with that top bolt that aligns the V-notch. So I'm going to take this bracket back off, lower it one notch, and we'll go from there. It's okay to have a low center of gravity. It's alright. So I thought, oh, putting in the studs won't be too bad. I'll just be smart and use mechanical advantage. What I didn't think of was spinning the stud in the actual plate. and now I've got a strip stud and I can't get the nut off. So since I don't have / can't run a welder, I'm gonna hit up my father-in-law. We'll probably weld something on this stud, get that nut off, probably weld in a little bit of that actual hole, and then just repress it with his shop press. So getting late, call this quits for today. Hit this up again tomorrow some other time. Not a big deal. So it was a couple days later, but excited to work. We got the stud pushed back out, held it in a vise, actually held it in a press, got the lug nut off, and then popped off those washers. My father-in-law welded the stud up for me so I don't have to worry about that one spinning anymore, and then we press these ones in. So let's get back to the install. We already laid our tire down without the cap on it, measured where we need to go for the depth of this bracket. So let's put this one in place and then get the license plate install going. We are going to be using the Poison Spyder third brake light and license plate light. I don't know where it is right now. But we're also going to show you guys how to wire that up too and button up this install. Plus we're going to be doing lights. So let's get this bracket on, see where our spare is going to be, and get going. Okay, so we had everything totally buttoned up and put back together and had the spare on. I closed the gate only to find out that the 37 was rubbing on the hitch. So, to take everything back off, was able to move this bracket up to where we originally thought it was supposed to go. And for this bolt here, you're going to have to start it and tighten everything as you go to make sure that everything fits in there. So, a little bit of a pain, but it's not too bad. We got the, I say all this we, but it's just me. I got this third brake light harness wired up. There's going to be 3 wires with this, whether you get the new super awesome bracket with the spider web on it, or if you have their older plain bracket. There's 3 wires here. They're really small. You have a red one, a black one, and a green one. So your red one is going to be your brake light wire. Your green is going to be for your license plate, and then your black is obviously going to be your ground. So I have this all buttoned back up, but underneath here you have your black plastic trim panel. You're going to want to pop that out. This panel, you've got 2 clips on this side. You pop that out, and then it comes out this way with some notches that get tucked in there. So inside there, you're going to have your wiring harness for your factory backup light. If you have gotten this far and have all your other stuff out, then you already know what I'm talking about. So there's a clip in there. Let's see if I can just pop this out. Okay, so this is a bit of a mess, but in this wiring harness, you can see this clip back here. There's 2 wires on that, white wire, black wire. White wire is positive, black wire is ground. So you can tap into those for your brake light. So white wire is going to go to the little red wire, and your black wire is going to go to the black wire. So what I did for the license plate light for the green wire is ignore the yellow. This is just whatever power you're going to use. So we run that through the tailgate and then through this little webbing here underneath your carpet, or if you pull your subwoofer, what have you, there's a rubber grommet through the body here that'll take you into your taillight cavity. So in the taillight cavity, you can follow your wires over to the regular marker light, just for when your lights are on, not your brakes, and then just use one of these little quick taps. These things are awesome. So just tap into the one wire. I believe it is the white wire with a purple stripe. So white and purple is for your regular bulb. The white and yellow is for your turn signal. And the white and gray, this is for a 2007, the white and gray is for the reverse light. So, since we're already talking wiring, that should get you all set up for your license plate bracket. Again, your white wire with the purple stripe is going to be for your license plate light, which goes to the green wire. And then the red and the ground go to the white and the ground for your factory brake light. And that does it for the license plate bracket. Now, while you're in this cavity, I did mention that at least for the 2007, the white wire with the gray stripe is for your reverse light. You can use one of these guys and tap into that, as well as your ground, and just wire in directly for your backup lights. Now, what I would recommend doing is doing each side specific. So wire this light to this reverse light, and this light to this side. Now, I've done 2 of these Jeeps with these backup lights, and it ends up when I tie these 2 lights together and tie them into one, since they're LEDs, I didn't think it would be an issue. This light turns out blue, this light turns out clear. So let me hit the key and show you what I'm talking about. So, I'm just going to put the accessories on. Throw it in reverse. So we have the factory backup lights. Those are on and working. And then, like I said, this one turns out blue. That one's regular. Since they're just going to be wired with the backup lights, I'm not too worried about it. If you would like to wire those to an S-Pod or something, then obviously you're going to tie those together, take them up to the front of the Jeep, and throw them onto your S-Pod or switch panel, or wire them to a relay, whatever you'd like to do. So let me kill those. Okay. So, close everything back up so we can show you. I'll put that panel back on here shortly. Move this bracket up now. I've got the bolts started. I'm going to tighten these up, put the spare back on, tighten the spare down, hook up that wiring harness that just fell, and then we'll do one more overview of the Poison Spyder Rock Brawler II rear bumper and tire carrier. Okay guys, so we have the spare back on. The bracket is finally bolted up. We have a nice amount of clearance here on the bottom, just enough to get my hand completely underneath here. If you wanted it up higher, you can. Usually we try to see out of the back as much as we can, but I think this looks good. It's about the same height, maybe a smidge taller than my JCR was, my old Crusader Deluxe. Operation is fantastic. I did tighten down this nut a little bit more, just to make sure that there was no play in there. And again, we're going to recheck that after 500 miles of driving with this, after we have this big old spare on here. Operation is really nice and smooth. The gate is limited. You know, the gate itself, the factory stops, stop the tire. So if you're really throwing this thing open, you might bend something. So be mindful there. But for the back spacing, we laid the tire down flat once we took the center cap. Once we took the center cap out, measured from the ground to the bottom of the hub, and we used that measurement to set obviously the bracket for the spare, but I pushed that in a little bit further, maybe an 1/8 or 1/4 inch in, so that the tire will hug this carrier and prevent any wobbling and moving around. But I mean, for how strong this is, I'm sure you really wouldn't have any problems if it moved around a little bit, but why not compress it against there if you can. Tighten the spare down. Like I said, operation, everything is really nice and smooth. We zip tied some of our wires together, so this is for the license plate bracket. Figured we'd zip tie it to this little Heim joint, put it through this triangle bracket, the alignment bracket for the carrier. They have these little laser cut things which are absolutely perfect for zip ties. I don't know if that's what it was meant for, but hey, great. So obviously we have our cord zip tied here. Our clip is in between the carrier and the spare, and then that wraps around for a nice clean install here. So tightening those up, we used a ratcheting wrench and then just a regular end wrench, Everything's nice, everything's straight. It's actually a really clean install. Of course, you can move the license plate in further or out more depending on whatever you want to do. Works great. So backup lights work. Everything comes on just as we had planned. No issues whatsoever. So this is great. I love having the single action carrier already, just getting in and out of the back of the Jeep. And we have our marker lights on. So just the lights on both sides are on, which also, if you tapped into the white wire with the purple stripe, will also turn on your tag light. So how we had our latched carrier before, I started putting our tags up here in this corner because of the mechanism was on this side and it blocked the view of the our wonderful law enforcement. So but yeah, everything's fantastic. We'll probably do a follow-up video here shortly once we get everything kind of edited and put together. Looking forward to it. If you guys have any questions on the install, hit us up. We are JMG Designs. Trying to bring you guys more videos this year. So not only do we make custom handmade Jeep accessories that you can see here in this video, this is our tailgate snap system. We also hand make custom made JK screen tops and seat covers and other cool stuff. Hit us up for any of that stuff, and we also retail your favorite manufacturers, of course, Poison Spyder, Rock Brawler, Warren, all the big names in the industry. We are happy to sell you and also install those for you. So if you guys have any questions on this install or anything else you would like to see, let us know. My name is Mike. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, check out our website, and we'll be in touch.